Homer, you got the approval of, from the guy who headed up the water for the West Bank, but he also asked you for additional proof. What did you do to get that?
Well, I took that water from that spring and I took it to this laboratory, the Migal laboratory up in Galilee, which is the #1 privately owned laboratory in Israel that tests your water, and they ran all the different tests to it, and they called me after 4 or 5 days and wanting to know what kind of filter we were using, and I told them we weren't, and they said, well, this water was probably the best water they had ever tested in Israel, and they continued to ask me several questions, and so we have had it tested here also in the States because it has to be approved by the FDA when it comes into the United States, which it is, and it is very important on all of the chemical makeup of the water.
Okay, so you had the big boys approve it, and they also said that it's some of the purest water that they had ever seen. There's another well that you had some experiences with, located above Jericho. What kind of experiences have you had with that water?
Well, when I was getting ready to move back to America, we were thinking about how much fun it would be to bring some good water out of, again, where everything started there in the Mideast, and I found a water company in Jericho which is actually owned by Coca-Cola out of Ramallah, and I went over and met them and visited with them, and they agreed to let us take the water out, and that we could put our own label on it. And again, they gave us records of their testing of the water every day, and as we have brought it out again through the FDA checkpoint, it's always been approved, and that it is very, very good water.
How far is this spring from the Dead Sea?
Oh my, it's less than 2 miles from which, you know, the Dead Sea is the lowest spot on the earth, 1,400 feet below sea level. And so this spring that is a couple of miles north of the Dead Sea, actually the runoff from the spring runs into the Dead Sea, and it's up a few hundred feet up above that, so it's 1,100 or 1,200 feet below sea level where this spring is, and that this water has the same minerals as the Dead Sea has, which is 72 different minerals, and which we've tested and had tested both there and here, and it's phenomenal. Like one of the items that's in it is the natural saline solution that back in the biblical history of this spring, Elisha actually poured salt into this spring, and it's recorded that that spring was healed forever, and so part of that water then has this natural salt saline solution in it, which is very, very important for all of our bodies to have a correct. So most people, when they put them in the hospital on an emergency thing, usually the first thing they do is to give them an IV with a saline solution, because most people's bodies have to a degree of dehydration that we need to drink. We should drink at least a half a gallon of water every day minimum, and because again our bodies are made up with these 2 kidneys in them that filter the blood vessels that are in our body, these trillion blood cells, and each one of those blood cells is 70% water, and so you need a good water that has one of the minerals that is very, very important is called iron, which goes into your body and goes into the kidneys and it takes the trash out that is being filtered through the kidneys, and when you go urinate, then you pass that trash out of your body. And that if you don't have good water in doing that, then your body, the plaque, the trash is piled up as plaque into your blood veins and arteries, which a lot of people have that, and you have to have your heart surgery for all those arteries that have been plugged up. But with good water, you don't have that. Your body can stay healthy if you drink good, clean water. And another very, very important point of water is the pH, because they know, any chemist will tell you that a cancer cell cannot live in alkaline water. And so your pH factor, like on this water that we bring in, is 7.6 minimum pH, and that a cancer cell cannot live in that alkaline water, which is tied to the pH, and which is very important.
So you've mentioned that water has over 70 minerals in it that also exist in the Dead Sea, and you've mentioned about the importance of the negative ions that attract the trash for us to eliminate, and also about the alkalinity of the water that makes it impossible for cancer cells. Do you know of any other water that's available to the, let's say, to the American public that has these attributes?
Oh, I'm sure there is some but not as good as this. We have worked with this Dr. Dick Cooey, the retired professor from Baylor University at 45 years, and he believes, personally, he's been over there, and he believes that this is the best water on the earth, that it has all the correct, he says the ions in this are actually perfect. And so much of the water we have here in the United States basically has just been run through a tap system and through a filter, and which is all right, but it doesn't have all the components that it needs. Many of your doctors in Europe send their patients to Israel to go there to the Dead Sea and literally just lay in that water, because the pores of our skin is the largest organ in our body, and they encourage them to lay in that water, and these 72 minerals soak into their body, and which is again amazing, because this water that we have has those 72 minerals in it.